You guys hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you, Heather.
Thank you. Okay. So this should be a fun class today. I am trying to get some lunch in my system, so I am going to start out by just going around the room and seeing how your weeks are going. So I'm going to start with you, Henry.
So far, pretty uneventful. I'm still trying to find I'm still working with Op City clients exclusively still. And other than that, just been doing some part-time work.
And you have some showings on your Op City people?
No, I've got one guy that was going to come up here to look at some property, but it went under contract before, so.
Got it. So Op City, are you doing floor?
Yeah, I've got a shift tomorrow, so.
That's cool. Nothing recently though, for new buyers from it or anything?
No, not yet.
Well, keep it up and do let me see you once in a while. You should see if you can't work from the office every now and then, just so you can pick up some. I know it's really busy in the office, so just being around, you might be able to pick up a lead or two from other people who are here. I know that's happened for some other people on the call, but good job. And how about you, Rebecca? I do. And of course, now I realize I haven't been pressing record, but that's okay. It's important. So here, I'm going to share my first one. Okay. See where it went. One. You can see this. Let's see if I can rotate it. That didn't work. Okay, so this is Life at Lemon. I was just looking for a name and it stuck. It totally stuck. So this is so cheesy, but it took me a little bit of time to do back then. You could make it so flashy now. I did a newsletter every other, I'm into stats, so stats were easy to me. Sometimes I did my article of choice it was every other month, so I only had to think of one article every other month. It could be I did one on when Edgemont Highlands was first sold, and the people who drove by could see a bunch of surveying tape and trees were starting to get cut down. So I did a whole thing on what Edgemont was, because I figured everybody who lives at Lemon Lake has to drive by it every day. I did one on pine beetles. I mean, this went on for years. I would interview somebody who worked for, that dealt with pine beetles and what you should do to cut your piles and make yourself more fire safe. I just thought of something, and you can see it's not that long. For doing it every other month, you can also steal this stuff. This is just what I happen to do. And then when I got good at it, I had a little calendar of events. Again, we do our own newsletter in the office. You're welcome to just steal this. I had my information on here, my certifications. I had a blog back in the day. And then I would put my properties that I was selling, and I'd give a big plug for them and how great they were, right? And then I would call all the agents who also had listings in the Lemon Lake area. And I said, do you mind if I put them in my newsletter? And they said, well, are you going to say they're your listings? I was like, no, of course not. I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to say these are Lemon Lake properties for sale. I never had an agent that said, you can't put me in your newsletter. So I just thought it was interesting. And you just have to have a disclaimer. You always have to do a disclaimer no matter what you send out. And all it has to say is this is not intended to solicit currently listed properties. So this is what I sent out. Okay, so these were with anybody in the MLS. And then if they listed with me, they got the big one. And so back in the day, like people thought that was cool. And then for me, I thought it would be interesting if people I was like looking for filler. So I would download, I'm a science brain person. So I downloaded a little like elevation of how Lemon Reservoir was. So it would be fun, like in the spring times, well, January it shows here, but in the spring times it would go way up and then in the fall it would start coming down. And over the years, people would say, that's actually kind of interesting that you put that in. I was just, I didn't care about being cheesy. I just wanted to do something. So now what I wanted to do is set up a plan and stick to it. This took a long time to build, but I only had to do it every month. And what could I do? Oh, and it was free. It was basically free. I mean, you could print it on the back printer. It doesn't have to be fancy. And then I would take it over and all I had to do is pay for the postage. So this was like the cheapest, easiest way to do farming, right? So then I paired it in between with pictures of Lemon Lake. And then this was the one people knew me for more. I just would, you know, those disposable cameras. I used to take the disposable camera and stick it in my car. And if I ever saw, now we have actual cameras on our phone. So you just take a quick picture, and then I'd look every now and then and go, oh my God, that photo actually came out great. And so I brought it down to Basin. They made a bunch of postcards, and one side would say Life at Lemon, autumn colors, or whatever it was, cracks in the ice I'd send out in the spring. I had a historical photo I found of them building the dam. So I spent time like getting it, but once you get a good picture, you can, like Luis, you had the picture of your kiddo in the river near Edgemont fishing. It was you that did that, not Leah, I think. Leah, you had another picture of oh, it was you? See, you could turn that right into like, hey, I'm gonna just put my son out on a postcard. And then on the back, it would have a place to put all the stickers, and you could each month have something you would say. And it is literally 2 sentences. So this was expensive to do because it was expensive to produce the postcards, but it was really easy. So it was pairing it's really hard, but it's cheap, with the expensive, but super easy. So all I had to do, like right now, you could use this again, where it said, the rates are probably the lowest you will ever see, with the rates being as low as you'll ever see in your lifetime. Are you in the home of your dreams today? Call me. And then on the side, I'd say buying, selling, or just looking, or have a question, call me. And I had my cheesy little realtor photo. So that's what I did. That's all I did. And I got no responses for like 6 months, and then 9 months. And then people would start calling me and go, do you know how to look up a title report or something? And like, oh, just sell your house with me. But then when I got it, oh my God, I have made so much money off these little houses. Like one sale in the area, let's say I spent $300 sending out a mailing. It probably wouldn't be that expensive. Maybe it was for the amount of postcards I did and the postage and everything. And then just selling one lot or one home, it super, super makes up for what you're doing. And so then, just to let you know, there's this whole bulk mailing thing. We have a bulk mailing stamp. You can also print it onto your postcard, so you don't have to go and stamp each one. The thing that takes a lot of time is putting the stupid mailing labels on them. And for the trifold I had, this guy actually had to be folded in 3, and then a little sticker on each side. Find somebody's kid, find a teenager. I used to put my earbuds in and just sit at the back table because I didn't want to pay anybody. I was a new realtor. I didn't have any money. So I would spend like 3 hours and listen to, well, I guess right now you'd be listening to a podcast. Back then it was music or something on my probably Walkman I had back then. But anyway, you had to fold it, you had to put the stickers on, then you had to put the address label on, and then you had to put them in different piles, because when bulk mail went out, I don't know if it's still the same way, but you had to separate the Farmington from the Durango. I don't know. It probably all goes to Albuquerque now. It doesn't matter. So it did take a lot of time, and you could literally pay somebody's kid $10 an hour, as long as they're a good folder and can do this and not make you look like an idiot, because the thing's all, you don't want to hire a kid that's too small, but I'm sure people have kids around that would help you with that. So that's all I did. I had many sales a year from Lemon Lake. Even when I stopped farming for years, I was already a manager up at Perg, and I was still getting multiple calls from people in, I expanded it to Tween Lakes, Aspen Trails, Los Ranchitos, everything up by Lemon. I just kept expanding it more and more because those people all kind of lived in the same area, and they loved it. And the nice thing about the postcards that I found is, even when I went into somebody's house years after I had sent this postcard, they had it on their fridge. And that is the best compliment ever. If somebody puts up your sticker, your baseball schedule, whatever it is, on your fridge, that's so cool. And they would say also, especially if you have a second homeowner, my thought was, you're in Texas, all you want to do is be up in Colorado, you want to be in your Durango cabin or your Durango $1 million home, and you wish you were there to see the leaves change. But I'm sending a picture of what time of year it is, and they just said, oh my God, I always put them on the fridge because I really loved it. And yeah, that's it. So you get it started, and then let's say you start getting listings there, and sometimes it doesn't take that long, and sometimes it does. So the only other thing I had to do, other than the once a month ones, right, is every time I had a listing and every time I had a sale. Let me see if I can do this at the same time. Oh, where's my number 6? I don't see number 6. That's okay. Let's see if it's here. Nope, I didn't download number 6. That's okay. This is our, I did one for just listed and one for just sell. Do you not see, these are, well, that's also the worst photo of me that was ever taken. These are so cheesy and so cheap. Tina Miley got me to do them because I used to do everything by hand because everything had to be perfect. Don't be that person. You waste so much time. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just make sure there's no spelling errors, obviously, but get it out. Just get it out. Don't delay. I had everything had to be perfect. And finally, Tina walked over one day. She goes, why are you spending all this time designing your own postcards? Just do it in My Neighborhood Agent. Now we have IQ. My Neighborhood Agent's also a good idea. Literally 15 minutes. Go in, decide what you're going to say, draw a radius around Los Ranchitos until it gets to 150 people or however many you want to send out. And this would cost me, like at the time, $35. So this was one I had in Shenandoah. I sent it to everybody in Shenandoah. This is one that I had in Aspen Trails. So this is just sold. And I'd say, please welcome your new neighbors. If I was on the buyer side, I'd get permission and then I'd put their names in it and say, please welcome Chrissy and Duke or whatever it is. And it would be more touchy-feely, like, you know that they want to know what the house sold for. And you know that they want to know who their new neighbors are. So those were things I'd be in there, but it was another way that they said, wow, you must sell a ton of stuff in Aspen Trails because I'm always getting your postcards. And even if you do the newsletter where it says all of these properties are not necessarily listed by me, they are properties in the MLS, they don't read that. They think they're all your listings because that's just how people read it. So they just assume that you own the area and you have all these awesome sales, right? So even if you got a couple listings a year where you were able to have a farm area where you have 12 mailers a year, and then you have a couple of these just listed, just sold postcards. It's called Tell 20 because every time you have something that happens to you in real estate, you want to tell 20 people about it that live in the geographic area. So you're always advertising your sales, okay? So this is the cheapest, easiest way to do it. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be like my awesome postcards. Just get it out. My Neighborhood Agent, IQ, it looks much better than they used to. And that's what I wanted to show you from me. So then obviously, well, maybe not obviously. What I always wanted to say is you want to do this 12 times a year. And then once you do it for a few years, you can start cutting back. So if you did it 5 times a year would be 5, or, like every other month is fine too. So do it hard and heavy for a year or two. And then when it starts working, you can pull back. We did that with our office's KSUT ad. We've done it with a whole bunch of stuff. Gino will always say, God, I was running this advertising for so long, and then you pull back and people still call you and they go, oh yeah, I see your name all the time in the chamber ad or whatever it was. And she'll think, I haven't done that for years, but in their mind, they still remember it. So it's just about getting that imprint in their mind to always call you. So then we do the, we do the quarterly newsletter. So here's a copy of it. If you haven't done it before, you need to do it. While we still do it, who knows if it's going to run its course? You should do it. So it's a glossy 11 by 17. Imagine 11 by 17 that's folded in all these different ways so that it looks really good to the people who are opening it. And then when they get it, they see the name and then they throw it out, but they still saw your name. It's all branded to you. And what we used to do is we have our ads for things that we're doing, like our virtual home tour. We used to do like, oh, adopt a dog. And this last time it was about COVID and real estate because that's what people actually cared about and wanted to know what was going on. We did a bunch of market updates, all that stuff I used to do in my Lemon newsletter. I brought some of it in because I do stats. So it's easy for me to write the stat letter and make it so that all of you get to use it without having to say, like, do all the work, we do all this for you. And then I guess this isn't the whole thing. I don't know. No, maybe this is the whole thing. I thought we had, maybe this part that's missing is where it's all our new listings. and not new listings, they're just listings in general. We'll pick different ones that we have in there. So the cost of doing this is rising because people are pulling themselves out of it. We send out about 6,000 of these. Is it that many? Yeah, 5,000 or 6,000 of them every quarter. So it's about 75 cents a piece for them to be printed and mailed to your list, and I collect the whole list. So we'll see if we keep doing this, but if we do, that's an easy filler. You're trying to fill up 12 months a year, just do this for 4 of them, done. You don't have to do a newsletter. Now think of something for the rest of the time. You guys could totally interrupt if you have a question. Leah, you raising your hand? Oh, you're muted. Hold on.
Mute. Okay, I have a question. I haven't done these before, and I was kind of wondering how it worked. So what months do you do them? When would be the next one?
Our quarterly stats for DAR come out. So the next one would be when this quarter is done, it'll be September 30th. And then the stats come out on about the 15th of the following month. And then it takes 2 weeks to get them printed and sent to people's mailboxes. So late October, late January, and then whatever the other 3 months quarters. So it's about a month after the end of each quarter.
And do you guys just send us out an email saying, hey,
yep,
newsletters, and then we just have to get you a list of our sphere to send out?
Yep. And even if you start, some of you, I was challenging you last year, the people were like Rebecca Applegate, you were on this call last year. I challenge people to say, even if you start with 5, just start with 5 people, just to get your head into it and say, like, I'm going to send this out to my sphere. So this doesn't have to be geographical at all. This could be just your sphere. But I'm saying that in the geographical farming, you can just dump it right in and it could be one of your 12 for the month. So, and all I need is a list in Excel, and I send you an example of what I need, and then you send it back to me, and then I put it all together. And then the media team, having a full-time media team is why we can do things like this.
Okay.
So now I'm on to examples, and I didn't put all of these on to share my screen because it would have been excessive. But I wanted to show you what all the other people in DAR are doing. Okay, so one of them, example of a newsletter, is Max Hutchinson. Oh my God, he does what we do, but he does it all himself. I'm like, just to think, like, it would be so nice as a top agent to just say, here's my list, send it to my group. Yeah, just done. I don't want to have to spend all that time. So that's what we do. He does what we like. He has a fun fact. You probably have to have a full-time employee working like 4 days to get that done. So he has that one. Here's I have to practice how I need to hold these. This is a just sold. It's a lot like what I did, except look how nice this looks. This is Jeremy Christensen, and he did this in IQ. IQ is going to have a whole bunch of different templates for you, so that you just have to drop in your information. And it's so simple, and you drop in your own photos. So you're taking pictures. If you're on the buyer side or you're on the listing side, you can send out a just sold. Okay.
Hey,
so
hey Heather.
have the listing.
Will you stop sharing your screen so I can see what you're holding up?
Oh, that doesn't help.
Thanks. No.
That's all I needed to do. So this is it. I could see myself. You just couldn't see myself. And this, and I'm actually going to look at my face so I can see that I'm doing it. So then it says
Anna,
this home is just sold. Oh, go ahead.
I wanted to tell Anna, on top of the countertop, or the divider where Jeremy sits, he has all of his postcards just kind of sitting up there.
That's cool.
Yeah, you can see them.
Handy.
This one's and we have in your website that's already ready to go. It is coded to have a page for home value. So if somebody has a question about their home value, those are the best leads to come in because they want to know. And if nothing else, even if they're not going to buy this year, you can put them in your ticklers, your what you do market analysis is on every year. You do that for people. You just say, hey, I have a market report. I just wanted to tell you more about what your home's worth this year. So I just wanted to let you know. And it's very boilerplate. There's nothing he had to really spend a lot of time on to make it look super fancy. Now, I'm going to get into Justin Osborne. He does a lot of geographic farming, and he'll do things like this. So 2 recent Vicedo properties. So this would be if he was trying to market to Vicedo. He does a heavy Vicedo marketing when he had listings up there. So it had information about the properties, and then it would say some of his rural activity. So he was going for those rural sellers. He had his team down here and it had just some information. And it's Justin's. He's pitching his own sales. Sotheby's does this a lot. They have their agents send out personal letters and they just change the wording. You know, if you've had a lot of sales in the last 3 years, not in the last year, just make it of the last 3 years of my activity. You're new, so you're going to have to lean on what other people in our office have done. Coldwell Banker, properties that have been sold. You don't have to have it your own sales. He just angles it. You always angle your marketing into what you can pitch about yourself. It's the same as writing your bio. Like I'm writing my my bio based on this because I want people to know that's my angle. That's my angle in. Like I loved green built homes. Someone listed one with me. And then all of a sudden people started saying, oh, Heather, you're the one to go through for Greenbelt Homes. I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. Yeah, that's cool. Whatever my angle is. Here's another one by Justin that he did. He was doing for luxury. Another high-end home sold. Another. So he's done multiple. So then he did the same boilerplate, but this is some of Justin's high-end real estate activity. And who do you think he sent this to? It was probably had a list of the $1 million plus homes in a certain area that he did. So it doesn't always have to be, it doesn't have to be geographic. You're just targeting something. This class is about geographic. This is, we're going on the cute ones now. Searching for the right realtor. Oh, it's kind of like my Lemon Lake, but a little cuter. This is exit. They just, you know, it's, do you know that winter is the best time to sell your home? They're angling the winter market. They want to get a seller that wants to come to them in the middle of winter. So they said, oh, winter's the best time. Now they could angle it in the summer. Summer's the best time. Did you know that? So you're just angling what you can. You're not lying. You're just have an angle that you're trying to pitch. Here's one by Aaron Schenk. He's a boater. Not sure which way to go. And that's a picture that he did. And all he did on the back was the big type. And he just writes something. And let my 17 years of local knowledge and experience help guide you. Local knowledge. He probably hasn't been selling real estate for 17 years, but he's lived here for 17 years. So he angles that he's been a local for a long time. Oh, and then it's cute because it'll say things like, call me today to discuss your situation and start scouting a route through the process, because that's what you do in boating. Now, I love this. You'll like this, Stacy. This is a letter. I get a lot of home handwritten letters, or whatever you want to call it, typed letters. They're letters, they come in an envelope. It takes a lot more time to sit there. And this is what I tell people to do if you're looking for a buyer, like you have a buyer for a specific property, you send actual letters, not postcards, because postcards makes it look like, hey, I'm trying to get a listing. A personal letter is like, wow, this person really, they really need to talk to me because I might have a house to sell. So it just means a little more to get a personal letter because you can tell there was time that put into it. Stuart wrote, he's trying to angle historical. He loves historical homes and his passion for historical homes. So I don't know why I got this. I think somebody dropped it on my house. Oh, did you get it? Stacy, you're on mute. That was you?
Yeah, and I haven't gotten another one. I don't know when that's dated.
That's true. So you gave this to me anyway. But it says, you're receiving this letter because you and I have a shared passion for older homes. This passion of mine started when I joined Nostalgic Homes, Denver's premier pre-1950 real estate company in 2002. Historic homes are a passion of mine due to their unique decor, strong history, and it's great. I love this. I think it's really good. Please contact me with any old home questions you might have as well. I look forward to meeting you. It's just very friendly. And at the bottom, you always have a disclaimer. You come to me and get it. If your property is currently listed, please pardon our proactive marketing approach. I like how he wrote that. This is not intended to solicit property for sale. Now, you don't always want to be Stuart way, because he also has sent out postcards that he didn't have enough postage on. So everybody who got one, the postman said, well, you owe us 10 cents for your postcard. So no, Stuart does a really good job. So I'm only teasing him. He sends out ones too that are thinking about buying or selling real estate. I mean, these are the basics. It's really simple to just get something out there. If you're just trying to get started, you say, look, I spent so much time picking an area and getting my geographical farm started. I just need to do something. Just go on IQ, pick out a postcard and do it. Here's some really, I think they're more on the cheesy side, but whatever. It's about content. You're getting things out there. I was so concerned with doing things of value that it sometimes took me a long time to get started. This is very easy. This was Cinnamon. She just got something out there, and this was probably from My Neighborhood Agent. That's what it looks to. But with 23 years of local real estate experience, it's about the substance. I am the go-to agent if you would like to know what your home is worth. And then you could do the paraphernalia. I actually got sent this. It has little, who knows if people still use this. It has a little sticker. I could put it on my car. And then it had like, oh, maybe I need to put this in my purse. And every time I do it, I'll think of Heather Erb. But they were, oh, you know what it was? They were trying to get me to buy these. So they sent me a bunch of it. So it came in a little fancy envelope, and you could do that too if you wanted to send out, like, I don't know, whatever is interested. Brian Blanchard, thinking of selling. I just want to give you tons of ideas so you can say, that's the one I'm going to get started with. And it's just black and white on the other side. It's probably like not that expensive. Here's another one of Jeremy's free market analysis. He's sending them to his website. These are, there's other ideas. This is one we did for if you want to sponsor an event. Let's say there's a homeowner. Let's say there was a tree day. I know Lemon Lake does a lot of that, where they're trying to get all your slash piles. It's like a wildfire prevention thing. Call them and just say, hey, do you need some money to help with that? Because I might want to sponsor the event. I don't know. I don't think there's any harm in that. Once I got known in Lemon Lake, I started getting invited to homeowner meetings because I created a newsletter. Nobody was doing that. And if there was something going on in a subdivision, I'd say, hey, if you live in Aspen Trails, just make sure you know slash day is on whatever day. I don't think I did it in Aspen Trails, but I've done it for Wilderness Lakes. So they would contact me and say, hey, could you put this in your newsletter? Most of them already have their own list. They're not going to, like, you never want to be weird about like, hey, can you invite me to your homeowner meeting? Or can I get a copy of your list of owners? Like, no, don't be weird about that. But if they contact you, that's awesome. And if they have an event, you can always call and say, hey, I would love to help sponsor your event. What are you looking for? And they might say, I need help. And it doesn't have to be a place you live. I need help, or maybe you could do this. And if you did, this is what we did for Coldwell Banker, because we were sponsoring a bike event. So we had little bags and we had bike lights that went in them. And then we put Ride Like a Local, and that's a picture of Todd. And then we had Live Like a Local, your Durango real estate experts. So those are cool. You can always just print something like that out locally. This is Wells Group. You can't use this one. You'll need our truck. So another angle to just get people to call Max. So this is his newsletter. So he does the same thing. It just looks intensive to do something like this and get it all. I'm sure they just send it to Basin and have them print the whole thing. But did you know there's the market statistics? He does a great job. Dave Fields, he is somebody that pays a company to do farming for him. So if that's something you're interested in, I'm sure it's like a monthly fee to call it. And it has the infamous recipe card on the back. And then inside, I know I've opened this before, homeowner update, just a beginner's guide to succulent gardens. You know, it's kind of like getting a newsletter in the email. Sometimes you like them, like Alpine News. I always get one from Alpine Bank, and there's certain things I'll read and there's certain things I like, I'm just going to throw it out. But even if the person just looks at something and throws it out, at least they get a little bit of the information, you know. So he pays for this. He doesn't have to do anything. It probably is sent out to his farming for him, and I don't know what the cost is. Here's another angle, just sold. So this is a property that Alpenglow sold. So it's one house they sold, but then he starts pitching other area listings. So you could do this on, here's other homes that have sold in your area. And I don't know necessarily whether you need an agent's permission, but here's how my phone call went. Hey, Mary Rigby, as you know, I do some farming in the Lemon Lake area. I do a newsletter. I don't say farming. I say, I do a newsletter for the Lemon Lake area. I'd love to add that property you sold at 33 Spruce in my newsletter. It doesn't say that I sold the property. It just says that it listed and sold in the MLS, and I give the price. Is that okay with you? And every time, if they got the message, they said, no problem. And then if I followed up with an email because they didn't get back to me, then same thing. They were just really honored that, like, I called them and didn't just put it in the newsletter. They just were happy. I did sometimes get people that said, oh, but not unless I get a copy of what you do. That's fine. Like, what are they going to do the same thing I am? They don't have the time for it. So I'd give them a copy if they asked for it. And then he'd have like this one from Dan would just have his information on the back. So you totally can do this. I would just get I would just make sure from the person who sold the house, the listing agent, that it's cool with them to have it in there. Here's one. Here's the fear. You know, when I was 10 years old, I was in 5th grade. I'll never forget a marketing class. It wasn't a marketing class. It was like different ways of doing advertising. And this is the fear. 2019 will be another good year for real estate sales in our area. And then you turn Shane Dawson, but these good times won't last forever. So it's like, call me because the market's going to change. It's kind of like mine. Are you in the home of your dreams? Because the rates will never be lower. Call me. You're trying to get people to call. So here's one that both Katie Sturm, I've gotten one from Katie, I've gotten one from Michael Davis. It's all Sotheby's stuff. So they send a really nice letter, and Mike Davis has always had like 20 punctuation errors and spelling errors. And I thought, oh my God, if you sent this to like a $2 million homeowner, they would just be like, no, be done with you. You sent me a nice letter and you couldn't even spell right. But this one's from Katie Sturm, and it's like, the purposes of this letter is to introduce you to my company. You can do this, you're a new agent. I wanted to introduce you to Coldwell Banker. We have a super new marketing program that no other office in the Four Corners can match. Now that we've paired up with Distinctive, say that all day. So we currently represent some of the finest properties in the region, and it talks about their sales as an office, right? This is a total form letter. This is Katie sent it to me. Mike Davis didn't know Katie sent it to me, so he sent it to me. If you're contemplating putting your property on the market now or in the future, I'd love, so he sends this out about quarterly to me. And then like what Katie does is it says, these are the ones she's done in 1 year. And then Mike Davis hadn't sold as many, so he wrote 25 in the past 3 years. To the consumer, they just think you sell a lot of homes. They don't notice that it's 3 years of properties, that you only sell a few a year. It doesn't matter. It's just about getting them something. So he has a really nice resume. So this is bio, but it's turned into a resume. And then he has his. I am sure their office manager does it for him or something. They just figure out how to do it. It's very formed. Remax did the same thing. Remax had a nice letter, and they sent it out and said, just don't want to go over too much time-wise. Dear neighbor, welcome to the new year. We're glad there's been some snow. Last year was another solid year for the real estate market. And it says, in total, it was also a great year for our team. Over the summer, my daughter came into real estate and started working for us. And then it talks about some personal things about like, as your neighbors in Rafter J, so this person lives right among them, we are experts in the community. And it has some of that touchy-feely, like, here's why we live here, family, like love. It says some cool things to make you excited. And then there's some stats. Maybe this is a different person, but then they put some stats in about what sold in the area. If any of you want to try something different, I know that Vistaprint, the first person to ask me, I always get these when I print out. Vistaprint's a cool one. They do a bunch of different things. I get I've done a couple of times, Coldwell Banker Heritage House Realtors note cards. And I have, whenever I do it, I say, hey, is anybody in here want some note cards? Just give me this much money and I'll print them out. They always give me a coupon. So anybody that wants to check out Vistaprint, just come in and I'll give you my free coupon. But that's it. I hope that got your brain stirring with some ideas. And I used to have a list of who does farming in what areas. What I can tell you is anyone in our office, you don't want to do the same thing as somebody else. It just doesn't make sense. If somebody's hitting hard, like Todd Seeger has done Hillcrest for about 20 years. You don't want to do Hillcrest. It just makes no sense. Why spend your money? So try to find something that's fun and funky and different than what other people are doing. And come to me with, let's say you pick an area and you say, Heather, is anybody doing this area? I'll pull up my last list of newsletters and I'll do a search in that huge file I have of 6,000 people that it was sent to and see if anybody else has been sending them to those people. So let's say, somebody randomly might be sending a postcard or a newsletter to someone they know. But if the same person keeps coming up with addresses in Los Ranchitos, I know they're probably farming the area. So if that helps, just come to me if you've picked an area and I'll try to remember if somebody is farming that now. And then I can also look at it on our list. But do you guys have questions about that? Let me look in the chat.
I have
Google
a question.
Make your own QR codes, which seems really useful. QR codes were really sexy for a while, and they're kind of going away, but yes. It used to be that we wanted them on everything in the office. When people were coming to look at our window displays, there was always a QR code, and we sort of got away from that because it's just not the new thing anymore. But there's always something that's fun to do. So QR codes, maybe if you want to try it, but a lot of people don't have that on their, they don't, it was like everybody wanted to know how to do that. And now if you ask people, they'd be like, oh, I can't remember. So yeah, if you want to try it though, it's that's one cool way to do it. I know Homes and Land always puts it in their magazine when you advertise with them. Who was I interrupting?
Hi. Me, Heather.
Oh.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
So when I'm on the assessor site and I've got my list of people, the mailing address where the owners live is sometimes different than the home I'm targeting. Do I send one to the owner who might be in Texas and then do a tenant or resident one?
That's a good example. I'll give you two reasons, or a reason to do it either way. So it isn't usually, it is. It's what 40% of our sales are to second homeowners. So 40% of the people in a normal subdivision might be out of town people. I sent it to the mailing address. I didn't want it sitting in some second homeowner mailbox here for next summer when they happen to come up, right? So I always targeted, if it's a high-end home, always the home address. It makes no sense to send it to there. They're not renting it out, right? If it's a lower-end home and it's a rental, so how would you think that? Like Terrace Gardens, Butterfield, probably most of the homes in like Silver Peaks. Some of those could be second homes, but a lot of them are, it's rental if it's not the same address. There's one agent in here that was new, JC. She didn't end up making it in real estate. She decided to leave, but she had just started with the most awesome farming plan ever. She just didn't live it through. She did give those names to someone in the office, and I know, I don't think they're doing it anymore, but she decided to tackle Butterfield, and it could have been Butterfield and Terrace Gardens. I can't remember what the two subdivisions were. She had two separate mailings. So it was the same postcard, but so she already had it designed. She knew what she wanted to say, but it was saying, so the one side was like, are you interested in selling or are you interested in buying something? She targeted the listings for the owners, and then she'd send another one, and you can't find out what the tenants' names are, right? That's not in public records. So she just write current resident, or yeah, it would be current resident. And then she'd send it to the actual address. So brilliant. She started getting calls right away, because what do people in Butterfield, with the rates as low as they are, as long as they aren't like totally out of work or hurting very badly from COVID, which a lot of people are, but it would be such a good time to buy. Go with Homes Fund. If you've taken the Homes Fund class, you know about it. Sending out postcards to people and saying, do you know how much house you can afford? It's totally different than it was a year ago. Like, rates are awesome. So yeah, so if it's a lower end subdivision, definitely do both. It is a great idea if you have the time.
Okay, thanks.
And if you don't have the time, just do the mailing address.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Have you ever had anybody get mad, like a homeowner get mad?
Who's asking? Is that, oh, that's you, Anna.
Yeah.
Once, with all my years, I mean, 10 years of doing this, I had one guy yell at me because he was like angry that I sent too many. It was one a month. It was one sheet of paper. It was like not that much. But he said, I hate getting mail. Blah, blah, don't ever send them to me. So I just went on my list. I took them off and I wrote like, do not ever send here. It was no big deal. But I was like, okay, you're really worked up over that. But in like, out of doing 350 people, one person got mad. It's fine. And you just say, oh, I'm so sorry I offended you. Like, here, I'll take you off my list. And I'm sure it's about the cheesiness of what you do too. Like if it was just like recipe cards, maybe like, I don't want your recipe card. But maybe if it's about like their subdivision, it might be more interesting. So, and maybe if you did it 10 times a month, there's that, it's like being spammed. You're like, is it too much? But once a month isn't going to hurt anybody.
What about with like the just sold things? I can imagine somebody, especially an older person, being like, I don't want people knowing that like I'm new or like all my new stuff's coming, things like that.
Yep. For the person that moved in.
Yeah.
That's why if you were on the listing side, if you sold the house, I send out one that says, please welcome your new neighbors. I don't need, so they might not want their price they paid for the property being advertised, but that's public record, man. I sold that house. I want people to know because that's what everybody wants to know. What did the house sell for? It was listed at 300 and they think it sold for 300. No, it sold for 250. Oh, 250. Oh, my house isn't worth that much. Oh, okay. So I had no problem with that. On the buyer side, the way I angled it is I said, I usually let the neighbors know. I say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Turbovich, I would love to introduce the neighbors to you and send out a little postcard saying that you just moved in. Would you be okay with that? And is it okay if I use your names? And they'll be like, oh, that's awesome. And if they have kids, I usually don't say that there's children there, just like creeper type stuff. You don't want to like, hey, there's 2 new little kids over here. So I don't say anything about kids. So I might make a joke about, I'm not going to advertise that you have 2 kids here. I'm just wanted to advertise that you're new in the neighborhood and to please make you feel at home. And that's always been awesome on the buyer side. They're like, totally. And they usually are okay with me using their names. But if I was on the listing side, I would never use the people's names because I feel like that's weird. It's like, who are you to tell them my name is Anna?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm always super sensitive because I always think about how I would feel. And I also like am just super sensitive. So I want to make sure like, I don't want to make anybody upset. I'm a lover. I just want everybody to love me. So I was always really careful about what I wrote.
How
Okay.
about on the buyer side? Would you send it to 100 people still, or would you just like that block?
I didn't send it to just that block. On my neighborhood agent, you had to at least do 50. And if it was a sale and if it was, let's say, I'm going to mute you, Anna. Let's say it was in Aspen Trails. If I would just advertise to those people in Aspen Trails. And I might even say, I'm going to do it on this side of Aspen Trails. There's 2 sides. People over here, if I was on the buyer side and I wanted to be just kind about it and like say, I just want to let your neighbors know, I'd probably do the 50 over here and leave out anybody over here because it was more of a personal greeting. And yeah, so that's what I would do.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? Well, good luck. I hope you come to me with questions. And really, like I have a huge folder. And if you get anything you think is good, send it over. I think the funniest one I ever got was the one where poor Stuart, I mean, I'm sure everybody could have made this mistake. How did they let him get away with not paying for enough postage? And it went to like these $1 million houses and it came with this little sticker that said postage due. And they were like, what? But that was the best one. But if you get any good ones at home, put them in my pile so everybody can enjoy them. So thanks for making the time today. Welcome to Melita, and I'll think of something good for next week.
Thanks, Heather.
Yeah, bye.